Q up.
What you know about me? Seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? I done it all, just want it all. Oh, what you know about me? I seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me? Oh, what you know about me?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host as usual, Jarrett Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. And you know I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO's favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby?
I'm just happy to be here. You know what I'm saying? Another day, another dollar, another dream. I'm dreaming, baby.
Shout out to the dreamers.
Mama made it.
Before he started, he's ready to pod. I love it. He's ready to pod. Before we before we have an amazing episode as usual lined up for you guys. Quick house cleaning items. First, shout out to Podfest for having us this week down there in Orlando. Shout out to all the people that we met and broke bread with, man. We had an opportunity to go on stage with the live panel. We was talking about how to use AI to grow the podcast. So thank you guys for the opportunity. Shout out to Angel and our distribution partners, the Live Podcast Network. You want more content from Black creators such as More Than the Title? Make sure you download the app. The QR code's right there. And pay support to your favorite creators. And with that said, we got one. We forgot one. Oh, wait, my bad.
I'm not merchant right now, but just in case you guys want to go and cop, you've seen us with the merchandise, the hoodies, the sweatshirts, the coffee mugs, the fitted hats, Jarrett, what else? What other mug they gonna have to keep their yak cold for 2 hours on one ice cube?
This is the only cup that'll keep your yak. It do say cold for 2 hours with one ice cube. You might want something hot. It might keep something hot.
And it keeps my tea hot too for like 2 hours. I ain't gonna. I'm off location today, so I ain't got.
We're a day late. I'm a day late.
Hopefully you ain't $1 short.
I'm $1 short after buying all that merch. What's up?
There you go. You heard him.
Apple Pay. I support everybody's merch. I got a lot of clothes. I got things peeling off. I'm just buying everybody's items because I'm supporting the cause.
But when you do, bro, we're gonna get you a hoodie or something with a quote that you're gonna say on here that's gonna be fire, and we're gonna make a commemorative one of one item. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
One of one commemorative. This is
that's how we gotta do this. There's the only way we could do it here. But you know what I mean? But
I just want to say before we even get started,
yes, sir.
I watched the podcast. I listened to it. I've seen people on it that I know. And then I was happy to reach out to you, and I appreciate you allowing me to come on. So I do want to just open with listener, watcher, appreciate the platform.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. That was real, man. That was real, man. It's moments like that. That's what we do it for. That's real. No, thank you, my brother. Real shit. We really appreciate you. We're going to give you your flowers right back, brother, because what this platform is. It's all about celebrating our people. It's about celebrating people like yourself. For those at home who's not familiar with this brother, he's one of today's most innovative and sought-out voices in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also the CEO of Jody AI, and is a celebrated author and 3-time TEDx speaker. He's been featured on prominent shows such as CBS Saturday Morning, Time, The Daily Show, The Guardian, The Breakfast Club, Washington Post, and also a Forbes.com contributor. He's also a 5th-generation leader, has worked under 10 different presidential administrations to advance safety, equality, and fair treatment of all Americans. Throughout his career, he served as the global head of diversity for a major international holding company and top 10 global creative agency. And now he has his first book out, which is a bestseller, which is called Invisible Generals, Rediscovering Family, Legacy, and Quest to Honor America's First Black Generals. Shout out to Simon & Schuster. It debuted November 22nd, 2023. Make sure you cop. And let's introduce this brother, Mr. Doug Melville, baby. Yeah.
Thank you. This is the best intro I ever got.
My God. That boy was preaching right there. I had to give you
listen, your intros are way better than Club Shay Shay. I know everybody's giving him shine, but your intros, what I'm saying is elevator up.
Thank you, bro. We was talking about the Unc. If you see this Unc, we was doing it. They was getting on us at first for giving flowers, but we saw that Cat Williams.
Oh, your own Club Shay Shay. We ride with Club Shay Shay, but that's our intro first. We had it before you. And
We
the
Soulja
intro,
Boys
we had that before you too.
Nah.
Respect where respect is due.
But brother,
I love it.
But bro, man, really, I'm gonna keep it real with you, bro. I've been following you on LinkedIn since my beginning on LinkedIn, man. You know, I saw your following, I saw what you was doing, and how real you was keeping and talking about problems that we were having in the Black community, brother. So it's an honor to finally meet you, brother, because like I said, you put on, man, there's only so many voices that really put on the way you do, man. And I appreciate you, man, for coming on the platform, showing us love, and we get to get some gems from you, bro.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, I like the name of your podcast because it is more than a title. You know, I think sometimes we just pigeonhole everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it was actually Elaine Welteroth. You know, her and I were talking a few years ago, and she said, you know, every time you meet someone, they want you to be one thing. You know, I do this, I am, but it's like, it's so much more than that. But we, people of color are historically much wider, but not as deep at certain subjects, because when you grew up, your family was like, gotta know how to sew, gotta know how to cook, gotta know how to clean, be organized, do your taxes, you know, like you had to do 100 things.
Yeah.
But as you climb up in the corporate world, the verticals get narrower.
Yeah.
So you're rewarded for being 2 miles deep, but 1 inch narrow, because corporations today are set up very narrow. But in traditional skill sets for people of color in America, traditionally are much wider. So sometimes when you get into these roles, you're put into the role which is narrow. Yeah. But in reality, you're so much more than a title, because your skill set is much wider. So that's why your title really resonated with me.
Got the double message.
The
double message.
And ladies and gentlemen, you know, quick housekeeping. He gave you that for free because he wasn't supposed to give you that before we said,
let's start the show.
Got that part, but that was real. That was a ball before the ball.
That was the ball before the ball. You know what I'm saying? But let him know that the show is officially started. And with that,
that was a gem
message. He goes into first period.
First period, man. But I'll tell you right now, Doug, the reason why we came up with that, man, because I was in corporate for 11 years, brother. And I'm gonna be real with you, man. My career took off when I started doing the hat and the hoodie. When I stopped putting on the phone voice, when I stopped trying to be somebody else that I wasn't, and taking those learnings and really upskilling my level. But the problem was, as a salesperson, you're not really in them C-suite conversations. Really, we should be the first one being talked to, because we're on the front of we're the ones talking to the customer. So our value and what we're seeing and how we're interacting with them is some of the most valuable insights within the whole organization. And I used to just hate that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, I could actually sit up there with the CMO. I could interview the CMO. I could have somebody on the board on the show. And guess what? I want to know who you are, because I don't care about your title. You could be an asshole. And if you are, your title doesn't mean anything.
You know, when I worked with a lot of different people in my career, but one of the people that was most influential to really having me understand how to be executive of color was when I worked with Irvin Magic Johnson. And I had my own marketing company that I had started essentially in my parents' bedroom. You know, like when you start out and you're just, you know, on the hustle and everything. And I was working to help entertainers and people of note create their passion projects. So their side hustles, how could you leverage their brand and make perfumes and clothing and things of that nature? And I get contacted. What I used to do to find business was I would write business plans blindly to different people and just mail them to them. And I ended up writing a plan to Magic Johnson's office. I didn't know him. I had never met him. And I got the standard letter in the mail that said, don't start mailing things unsolicited. You know, don't think you're cute and all this stuff, right? Standard form, whatever. Months later go by and someone from his office contacts me and I get invited to New York City. And when I go to the meeting and show up, an executive of his company was like, Doug, you know, Mr. Johnson's here to see you today. And I was like, okay. And they're like, Irvin Magic Johnson, Doug. I was like, what? Magic Johnson? And I go up and we interview and he ends up hiring me first to be the president of his marketing company. And then I joined his executive team in Beverly Hills.
We got to give you, come on. That You get 2 horns for that, man. Like, come on, dog. That's
Shit.
off a cold written business plan.
I swear to you. And I ended up finding out that the way I wrote business plans was I used to have this formula that I used to do, napkin to 2 million. So if you had an idea, I would be able to say, okay, this is the market, this is the rate, blah, 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 and get it to a $2 million back of the napkin. But people loved it. It was almost like a party trick, but people were like, no, that shit's good. We got to write that down. So anyway, I come to LA, and in my first meeting, I have a book bag over my suit shoulder, and he pulls me aside and goes, Doug, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, well, because I was working in different rooms. And he was like, Doug, you are an executive of color. You have to live like a president, act like a president, roll like a president, but you also have to be fluid. As in, he owned the Lakers, okay? And he was a broadcaster for the games. And he was a partner with some of the NBA league partners. And he was like, Doug, you have to be able to cross all the different verticals well, so you could be an all-around executive, because I may have to give a presentation or sign autographs, or I may need to broadcast the game and we may win the championship and I got to go get my hat. So he showed me that if you are to be a great executive of color in particular, was what he stressed me, you have to be able to move in all the rooms, because the expectation of our delivery is different than other executives who may have that opportunity. So I learned how to do that, which is why I'm okay in those rooms. But I was taught by someone who was adamant about ensuring that I knew and teaching me like a PhD on how to get to the next level. And those are the things that we need to do more, because sometimes you are asked to do different things in different paths. And if you don't have someone who's literally saying, listen, we need you to do it just like this, then you don't learn how to do it.
Message.
That's real.
Beat me to it.
that was real. But it's crazy. You said John said that last week, said the same exact thing. Joe, we had a guest on, John Graham, and he said 80% of Black Americans don't even know the universal language, right? We don't know the language. He said 20% is reserved for the power dominant, right? And he said that when they speak, power doesn't speak, they imply, and it's up to you as the listener to figure out what it is. So if you're not taught it, you're not put up on game, people are going to see you from a mile away, and they're going to say you need polish, you need executive coaching, you need this, that, and the third, right? And you was able to get that from Magic Johnson.
He changed my whole life, my presentation skills. I had my first meeting that I ever had with him in my whole career.
Crazy.
Was with a major car company, and we flew to the meeting on the private jet, and it was my first time really, ideating a meeting with the whole team that was going to present. And I was going up there to lead the meeting, and I got up there and I just tanked, I bombed, and I remember after the meeting, everybody left, and he sat me in a room and was like, Doug, he said to his business partner, should we fire Doug? Should we let him go? That was so embarrassing. You know how long it takes to get these meetings. Wow. Everybody has a job to do, blah, blah, blah. And that was when he said, you have to level it up, practice everything. You have to be the smartest one in the room. You have to know everything about everything, because I was going in there just trying to know the subject.
Yeah.
Like when you're me and you roll with me, you have to know everything about everything, because people can ask you about health. They can ask you about hoops. They can ask you about ownership. They ask you about Starbucks. They can ask you about 24-hour fitness. Like you have to know everything about everything and deliver it in a way that's believable, because you are the smartest person in the room, because you're a subject matter expert. And that was not how I was moving. I was patching in the information as I needed it, but that rewired my whole existence as an executive and trained me to do all the things I do now. Because if you don't have that person who's literally walking you there, and also the time, and also the team, this is why it's so hard to move up, because you really have to have factors that are in your control, but in addition to factors that are not in your control.
That's it.
Message.
That's a subtle message.
These memes are really. Who's controlling the memes? Which one?
We both do.
Oh, okay.
That's how you got the double message.
We talk about support systems on this show a lot, and we're going to continue to talk about support systems because it is essential to have support systems in place to help you prosper and win, right? I think it's a famous saying that people say, like, the most talented person doesn't win, it's the person with the most support wins, right? You could be the biggest talent in the world with no support system, and now your job is 100 times harder. I could be half as talented as you, but have all the right places and all the right pieces in all the right places, and everything's moving and skyrocket past you. You know what I mean? And once you get to a certain level of success or notoriety, then everything kind of is on autopilot, right? You were at the point when you walked in a room where you were new to it. You were inexperienced at it, right? So nobody didn't know you. They didn't expect a certain thing. So when you went in there, they're like, okay, let's put Doug to the test. But once you become seasoned, then they know when Doug step in the room, Doug is no joke. Doug knows his shit. You know what I mean? Then it's a different point. When you step in the room, a lot of shit just becomes a lot easier for you because they already know you have a track record of performing a certain way, and it's just kind of copy repeat after that. You know what I mean?
I'm going to ask you, Doc, now that you told us that you bombed the first meeting, do you mind telling us what was one of the biggest wins you had in that scenario? Or in that role? Like, what is one negotiation that you're really proud of?
Well, the thing about that whole experience is that it made me understand what position I was in. Sometimes life moves fast. You don't really know, kind of where you are. And it's not to be cavalier about it. It's just to say you get this opportunity. You're like, oh my God, I got to focus on this so narrow. And it really helped me understand an executive global mentality, because I was like still almost clawing and fighting for every rebound when actually you have to, widen your horizon. Ebony Williams once told me, the narrower you are, the wider your reach. And that's what I was talking about, the silos. When you look at companies today and experts, if you only know the solar system because you're Neil deGrasse Tyson, everybody says solar system, Neil deGrasse Tyson, what's going on? If you want to know law, Ebony Williams, what's going on? This is what I'm saying is that I was living that, but when you're a CEO, a president, or an executive, you're not talent. You actually are much better off being very wide in knowing how to be a CEO. So this is the difference between the boardroom and broadcasting. The asks are actually the opposite. So when you try to do both at the same time, most people aren't successful because they get stuck in the messy middle.
Message. You beat me to it.
I got the panel up. I felt like this was going to be one of them ones.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like you right now are trying to doing broadcast, but maybe you're also an executive. But the secret that I learned after that meeting was you can do both well, but you have to put in the work to do both well. Because you're not through the 10,000 hours of broadcasting going to get better at the executive duties and vice versa. And that's the thing. Even when you see Ohtani, the baseball player that plays both positions, they say most kids, when they're doing good in sports, their parents take them out of all the other sports and just say, listen, third base is what you're going to do. But people that grow up international ball players, they always say about the international NBA versus domestic, the skill sets are different because, here we teach people one thing and over there they have to know the all-around game and then, that whole thing. So we just have to balance what we want to do in this life because doing both well is really hard unless you put in the work. So that was my learning from the meeting. So it was actually a happy accident because it tightened me up to understand, there's a real responsibility here. Then what you learn is once you don't work there, that there may not be another executive, not to the story I was just telling about Irvin Magic Johnson, but when you work at a corporation and maybe you leave your job or somebody leaves, you have to realize that there may not be another person that comes in and has that same role, or another person with a similar background. So you are a doer, but you also have to be the chief inspiration officer for those behind you.
Yeah. And you know, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense coming from you saying you getting tutelage from Magic Johnson, because if you looked at Magic Johnson, he's one of the only players that say I can successfully play every single position on the court and play it well. So he's an actual prime example of exactly what you said, because he can play from guard all the way to center. You understand what I'm saying? So for you to say that makes perfect sense, that he would teach you something like that because he's lived that himself. You know what I mean? And I believe that being multiversed and multifaceted in a lot of things makes you a worldly person. You understand what I'm saying? I think the problem that we run into more often than not is we get so much backlash when you present the talent, right? Okay, I want to be good at this, or I want to be good at that. We get so much backlash that when you finally get the opportunity to do one thing, you kind of hold on to it so tight that you don't want to learn anything else, because you want to prove that I finally got the opportunity to do this one thing. Let me show that I can do this the best. But the world will show you that the more you know, the more you can actually grow, right? Because let's say you leave that opportunity as a C-suite individual. Now you know every aspect of working each one of those C-suite positions all the way down. Now you can say, instead of working for somebody else, now I can go into business for myself, because I know all of the positions. I know how to do everything. You understand what I'm saying? So that puts you in a better position to become an entrepreneur and run your own company, because now you know what each position takes. When you're hiring people, they can't bullshit you. I know what your job does. I know how to do the job.
That is exactly right. And you know, when I left, I worked with him for 3 years, and it was the end of my term. It was the end of the calendar year. And we had a meeting recently, and this is a story. I don't really tell the story, but it's really one of my favorite stories. Stories.
Hold on, we gotta get the bell. We gotta get the bell.
This is one period, y'all. Story to tell, and I don't really tell it because it's, you know, a little off the beaten path. But I leave the company, and we have a meeting up at Google. So at the end of the meeting, we meet Larry Page and Sergey Brin and everything. And they were like, we want to bring you to, you know, show us your new products and everything. They bring us in this room. And after we walk out of the room, I said, hey, can I ask you a question? I said, if you had one piece of advice for an entrepreneur that was looking to start his own company or anything like that, what would it be? And he puts his arm around me and goes, young man, let me tell you something. The first thing you should do is you should go to google.com/labs. And when he says this, I'm thinking the guy's trolling me. We're at Google headquarters. You created it. Of course you're going to send me to Google.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking like this guy's just blowing me off. He's telling me like a one-liner. You know what I'm saying? But I finished hearing him out because I don't know what he's going to say. And I'm really this attentive to it. And he goes, what you should do is go to google.com/labs. It's since changed, but this is what he told me, and it worked. He goes, I want you to look at all of the categories that we sell advertising in, and I want you to find the category that you're most attracted to, which was entertainment. And he goes, I want you to look at the top searched words in that category that aren't trademarked, because you could go on Google and see what's the number one searched word in entertainment that's not trademarked was red carpets. And he goes, what you should do is buy the domain and create a business in reverse. So if you know that's the number one search word, you know everybody's going to search for it. So buy redcarpets.com and start a business backwards, and then you'll always have money coming in for the rest of your life, because everyone will eventually find it due to natural search, which will pick it up in 1 to 3 years.
Shit.
That was crazy.
So I leave that night. I go back to my home apartment, and I go on and I find redcarpets.com. I pay $4,400 for the domain. I call my best friend Bill and go, Bill, listen, everything I just told you. He goes, well, what are we going to sell? And I was like, oh, we could do stock photos, we could do lighting, we could, we're like going through all these things. We're like, why don't we sell red carpet?
I was about to say, shit, red rugs, red carpets, red.
And then I was like, then we could sell all the color carpets for all the events in the United States. And then everyone will type in red carpets, and then they'll go to redcarpets.com. And then we could make them in any size. We could make the circles for the TED Talks. We could do the this. We could do the that. Then we could sell backdrops with your logo on it. And then we could sell velvet ropes. So we'll only sell 3 things. I want to tell you guys that we committed ourselves to this redcarpets.com. 3 years went by. We did not sell 1 red carpet.
Oh, my God.
Hate it.
I spent my whole life savings, my 401k.
Hold on, wait, you need another one. You need another one.
Damn. You just reminded me too.
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
So if you want to get your merch, this is the time to do it.
We
got more than
might not last 3 years.
mugs. We got hoodies. We might not beat it. We got 3
Might not be here tomorrow.
February's fucking schedule. We might not make it to the end of unless you buy your mugs, your cups, your hats. We got 5, 4, 3.
We got to show them all. We might not make it.
That's it. Y'all back to the show. Y'all, my bad, Doug, because you just reminded me.
No, this was real.
Crazy.
So I'm eating 99-cent pizza, cutting it in half. I'm going to Chipotle every day, getting a burrito bowl so I can have 2 meals out of it. We are literally,
Shit.
I'm telling you, this was like a great idea, but you get so far in the idea, there's no way through it but to do it. Like the only way out of it is to be successful. So he was, we were living in the city. We had a studio. We're like sleeping on the floor with 2 aero mattresses. Like this was
Real as it gets.
You said 3 years.
I don't even know if it's not bottom, but it was.
We talking 3 full calendar years.
3 full calendar years.
God.
In theory, that's fucking brilliant. In theory, it's brilliant.
But not even one rug? Not even one?
We didn't sell a rug. We were
Not even
sending them
your
out
cousin?
for free. Nobody really wanted them.
Your
And
Uncle
then
Harold? Nobody?
And then something happened.
Uh-oh.
We get a call from a friend of a friend's wife's friend. Like this was the frailest connection that I ever had. And a friend of the wife's friend goes, Doug, my friend is the head of marketing for Clarins Cosmetics, and they are having trouble in the malls getting people to try on the makeup because that's the first part of kind of the customer facing clienteling. So we would like to buy $3.1 million
of
carpets and backdrops and velvet ropes to put all over the United States and all international in all of our retail locations. This is the thing. You have to build like some custom ones and do this, do that. You have to pitch it, come in, set it up, break it down, like the whole thing. And we didn't have any money.
Yo.
You gotta listen to him. You can learn something.
Another thing, because this is real. You're going into the shit tonight. You gotta listen to that guy.
That's crazy.
So I go to Bank of Mom and Dad, and I'm like, guys, listen, we have to get a little bit of money to go in and do the demo. But if we do the demo,
game over.
We actually have to get the money to get the stuff because this wasn't, just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So they put in the first order 300,000 and the next order was 1.3 million, blah, blah, blah. And I went to my parents and my dad, ride or die, was like, you came this far. Like him and my mom still together, married 50 years, the civil war of what do we do with our retirement. And my dad's like, you came this far. We have to support him. And my mom's like, we're gonna lose everything. What if they don't pay him? What if it doesn't work? What? So, nevertheless, they give me the money, or I borrow the money. Bank of Mom and Dad. I deliver the items. The next thing you know, one of the free ones that we had sent out went to Albie Manzo, who was on a show called Real Housewives of New Jersey. He red carpets his apartment. The woman I'm dating at that time goes on The Bachelor after we separated, and she was the spokesman from the website. So on ABC, they said employed redcarpets.com. Albie Manzo's season premiere, Red Carpets' apartment, redcarpets.com. We're sponsoring it. And then the Clarence Cosmetics, the next thing you know, orders are coming in just like they said that we're going to come in. And just like we thought all along. But this is what I'm saying. 3 years.
Wow. That's the level of commitment.
99-cent pizza.
Hold on.
That's sacrifice.
That's third period. What we calling that? Commitment? This class
and
is
sacrifice and
God.
Oh my God. And this was after the executive leadership. This is after
working for Irvin Magic Johnson.
Oh my
flying around
God.
on Gulf Streams, you know, in the Lakers box, foot on the floor. I mean, I am living like everything you believe it is and more.
Crazy.
And here I am going from that to pizza, 3 years on the floor.
Look at that, man. Bet on yourself. You come on, man. That's the tagline. Bet on yourself.
Yeah,
Talk
man.
about a story, man. Oh my God.
That's the fucking universe.
That's a hell of a story.
That's a fact, bro. That's the universe just coming in like, you've waited long enough.
Like, you know, I tell people I've been there.
Movie voice, like, in a world with 36 months eating ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying?
I was just on a plane with Magic. Damn you. Yo, oh man, what was
you see me at half court?
what was the toughest moment you remember in that during that time frame when you're hustling, you're grinding? What was one of the toughest moments where you almost quit that you remember that you just like, no, I'm gonna persevere and go through it? Can you give us one? Because I think it's super important for people to know some of the shit you have to sacrifice and persevere through to become who you are today.
There was actually no way out except to be successful. That was what I actually learned. Like, sometimes you're so far down the road, the only way that you could get through it is to win. You know, and I mean, you know, it's business or life or grief or opportunity or whatever. But I was so far down the road. I had spent every credit card, all the 401k, change in the, you know, all the bonds from your goddad, you know, like, I mean, there was nowhere, there was no way that I could actually get out of the debt unless the idea worked. And then it took years, you know, like the big order, but then that was over a period of time. Yeah. But then that paid off the company.
Right.
And then we were able to get a publicist and, you know, do what we needed to do. And then we get a call from the Wall Street Journal, and the Oscars reached out to us because they thought we were cheapening the red carpet by making it accessible to everybody. And they tried to file a claim that they own the trademark to red carpet. And once that happened, the Wall Street Journal wrote a front page story called "The Man Reinventing the Red Carpet." And that actually transitioned my journey into advertising and to be a diversity officer, because they read the headline on the newspaper. So this is actually like a cool like transition point. So here I am selling the red carpets, traveling around the world. I get invited I'm in LA, and I get invited to a premiere screening of the movie Red Tails, because that's the movie where Ben Davis, who's the center of our family, was the creator and the commander of the Red Tails. So George Lucas is doing this movie, and they invite me to the screening on behalf of the family. So I fly in. I go to the screening, and the name Terrence Howard, who's the main character in the movie, he was playing Ben Davis, who was the center of our family. That's why I was there. And then we come to realize that the name had been changed, and that made me very upset. And I went to ask my dad, and my dad said, "What are you going to do about it?"
Right.
He didn't say, "Oh, woe is me, you know, don't complain." He said, "Okay, you saw a movie. Really not a big deal, because I'm going to tell you the real family story, and you'll think not being mentioned in a movie is a joke, because, you know, if you talk to people who are oppressed, not being in a movie is like it's not real. It's not.
Yeah, it doesn't even register to us. Well, it wasn't even on our
He's like,
radar.
who cares? He's like, Doug, they made an
Yeah,
HBO movie called Tuskegee Airmen. How many movies do you want this guy to be in? Nobody cares.
Right.
But I was like, Dad, this is a disgrace, blah blah. Because we grew up and the movie was real. I mean, not really, but people still looking for Batman. I mean, people are still looking for Wakanda forever. I mean, the movies are so real, you think that they're fact. So when the name was removed, my dad goes, what are you going to do about it? And I said, there's going to be two things I'm going to do about it. Number one is I'm going to research my family story to find out the real story and see what was hidden and what wasn't. Number one. And number two is I want to switch my career to ensure that anyone that was made invisible is now visible. And I want to help companies do that. Now, when I left Magic Johnson, he told me, Doug, you should think about being a diversity executive, because at the time when you looked at where he was making most of his revenue, and then when I look back at all the other individuals I work with who I was helping create their passion projects, women, immigrants, first generation, people of color are over indexing on all these products. So I essentially became a specialist, going back to the narrow focus in the corporation versus the wide focus, right? I became a specialist in market audiences and niche audiences that were diverse in nature. So I get a phone call from an ad agency called TBWA, who brought me on, and their CFO brought me to lunch and goes, we're looking at this role of diversity officer. Is this something that you would consider? And I said, is that a full-time job? I never heard of that as a real job. About the year 2012.
Facts.
There was less than 100 diversity officers in the whole United States. Now it's everywhere, but there's less than 100. And he goes, it's a leap of faith between both of us. We don't know exactly what we want the role to do. You don't exactly know what the role is. But what we do know is we need to look at diversity in a way that's positive and as a growth and an opportunity for us to be better, be stronger, all those things. Yeah. So I say yes to the job, and I become a global executive for an ad agency on Madison Ave. We're one of the last ad agencies physically on the street.
Yeah.
And on the first day, they go, Doug, this is what we're going to do. We only deal with clients here. That's our whole business. So what if we looked at diversity as if it was a client? So if diversity called the ad agency and said, market me, rebrand me, reposition me, write my copy, make my commercial, what would we actually do? So on my first day, they get 33 executives into a room, and we look at diversity as if it was a client. And what came out of that meeting was a few things, but number one is diversity actually is a domestic emerging market. It's just positioned in the negative, but actually diversity is the biggest opportunity for growth of any for-profit company in the United States of America.
Message. Talk about it.
But it's not looked at it that way. The next thing is you have to break it up in different categories. 1/3 of it is commercial, your messages, your marketing, visual interpretation of your spokespeople, etc. 1/3 of it is your employee base. How do you hire? Who do you recruit? Is men and women paid equally?
Yeah.
Do you have equal opportunity? All those things like that. Who's on the executive team? And the third part is the supply chain. Do we hire diverse-owned businesses, women-owned businesses? Ultimately, we added a fourth, which was community involvement. But in this particular research period that we were going through, community was added a bit later. So we broke up these three areas, and we created a pathway to work with our clients to educate them that diversity was a domestic emerging market. It was an opportunity for growth, get new clients, educate people, and people were tracking with it in a positive way.
Okay.
2012 happened, and let me just kind of go through the diversity timeline for you, okay?
I'm with you.
2012 happened, which is when I joined. Then we had Oscars So White. Companies were nervous because it's almost chapters in diversity in America, right?
Okay.
So we had Oscars So White. Then we had equal same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
So first it was are we awarding people that are diverse? Then it was like, oh, same-sex marriage. That was something that we all had to kind of educate ourselves on. Then it was like, okay, what's up next? Okay, Me Too. Then it was like, okay, Me Too. Then it was like unconscious bias. Everybody had to know about that. Then it was Stop Asian Hate. Then we all had to know about that. Then it was George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. Then we had to know about that. Then it was COVID. Okay, empathy, health, health and work from home. But then it gets touchy because then in 2016, it became politics. And when the political, I look at diversity like if your brain is an iPhone, right? You have the iPhone, 15, I have 14, what have you. It's a patch update. Now, when you tell people about diversity, equity, and inclusion, some people's hard drive can't update the software. So you're trying to talk to somebody, but it's not you. The software cannot load in the hardware because the hardware is dated.
They just don't get it. So right, just can't get right, boss. Just can't get right.
And this is where people are trying to be like, oh man, this guy doesn't understand. It's like, guys, no, it's not the software, it's the hardware. It's not going to work for everybody.
Wait, my fault. I got to give you one. I'm sorry because we didn't give you one all day.
There's no way you're going to give it to us,
bro.
No way.
The tone was crazy.
No way, bro. He did narrow and did this 20 times. He did wide and did this. And we let that shit rock 100 times. And you hit him for that. I'm not
40 minutes in. We 40 minutes in. That was funny as hell.
No, but I'm just, but it's very important because the thing is diversity's now being like in a way under attack. Absolutely. Because once it entered politics, boom, now politics came into the office.
Yeah.
Now it's MAGA, easy slogan, red, blue, everything kind of, came into the office. And then now it became complicated. Then they add Supreme Court. Then they add, religion with the Hamas situation. So what happened was diversity was growing in a way that was a domestic emerging market and an opportunity. The wider you are, the better ideas are crafted in the meeting and you get a tighter narrative. Now it's focus on your core audience. Don't be everything to everybody. That's not our market, because once you start adding politics, religion, health and wellness, things like that, mental health, it gets challenging for corporations to navigate the line, which is 100% subjective of which side do you go on. So your companies have been more hesitant in the last few years to speak out publicly because there's people from both sides in the room listening that are looking for errors, got you moments, cancel people. And that's really caused a challenge because many of these diverse executives that came up had an opportunity to get promoted during Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, social justice, but they were moved to roles within DEI. Now that those roles are still there, but the voice may not be a vote anymore, these individuals have been sidelined and companies are going back to their core, and you're seeing the systematic dismantling of donations, social justice programs, and things like this. So the subject became which was once full of joy, an opportunity where people are like, Doug, we want to get you in the creative meeting. Doug, what's your opinion on this? Ended up going to, let's just not put any black legs or arms in the ad because we don't want this to be about diversity. So you could see how it shifted.
Yeah. And the narrative now is DEI dead, all of that stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. My problem with diversity, as far as how it's marketed to us in a company, right? One, like for instance, I'll give you an example. I've been on ERG teams, right? So it took me about 8-9 years of my career to get to an ERG team. And for those who listen, that's an employee resource group, right? So if you be in a corporation, it'd be like, hey, black people at this tech company, right? You have 100 employees. We do shit together, yada, yada. We have a budget, all of that shit. You have a appointed running like a business. I was with a big tech firm. Our budget was $10,000. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then you have to get it approved by who you think we got to get it approved by? You know what I'm trying to say? And it's like, what are we really doing here? And there was really no better time for us to be black in the industry but George Floyd. We got sponsorships, we got this, people posting us, LinkedIn fucking throwing us out there, giving us more visibility, the whole nine, right? As soon as that died down, we saw their true colors. But can we honestly say that we didn't think that would happen? And that's what my beef is. Like, what change have you really seen happen? And we asked Dr. Janice this when she came on, and I would love to hear your answer, brother. Like, what's one of the biggest changes you've seen for black people in corporate since like diversity became a thing in 2012?
Well, I think the biggest opportunity, I think the biggest challenge is this. People that are typically given the opportunity, first of all, the opportunity was earned, but it's perceived that it was given. So I don't even like to say I was given an opportunity. I earned the opportunity. When
absolutely.
Going on vacation, I go, you earned the vacation. Like I do like to use the importance of language.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, people celebrate this newfound opportunity instead of working twice as hard. This is the trick play with success. When you get the thing, that's actually when the job starts if you're focused. But when most people get the thing, they party, they celebrate, they take their foot off the gas. And what happened in this situation is because the jobs that were given were subjective in nature, there's certain legal risks that are around diversity that you can't necessarily have targets. You can't write everything down. So you're in a position where you're in a C-suite, you have a voice, but your voice is not a vote.
No.
So these I'm trying to,
yeah.
I'm just telling you, I'm laughing at the meme.
It's real, man. Shit.
But I can tell you what I think was Issa Rae just came out the other day. I think selfishly one of the biggest things that happened because of George Floyd's social justice was the arts became much more inclusive. Now, okay, corporations did as well, but like we said, they may not stand for the long haul, but I believe that was very important. But I think in the arts, the television shows, I pitched my book deal during that time and I got picked up when only 6% of all authors on the Big Five publishing are authors of color. So if you think about 40% of the United States are individuals, non-European descent, ethnic minorities, as you describe them, 6% of every book made by the top 5 publishers is signed to an ethnic minority. So the stories don't necessarily get out, but this also is with the networks. I think all the podcasting that has grown has allowed so many more diverse voices to have a table.
Absolutely.
And not work at your table, but have a table. You two said we're going to make our own table.
Absolutely.
And during this time, it gave people a chance to think, to write, a lot of creative. So I think the arts for me is the biggest systematic change in the United States that happened from everything that happened after George Floyd. I think corporations, you'll see where the ebb and flow goes in the next, upcoming years. But I think the arts is a tangible, real, inspirational moment. And I think also looking at the Super Bowl halftime show that happened after George Floyd, you have Rock Nation and Jay-Z in charge of it.
Yeah.
This is, I know people are like, yeah, but who else they gonna pick? But it's like, it was not this. Usher, Snoop Dogg. I'm just saying these.
My prediction, Taylor Swift is gonna be on there next year. That's my prediction. You know that
1,000,000,000%, and she's gonna get signed to Rock Nation.
I don't know that she's gonna be on it when Kansas City loses to the Niners,
And she gonna be there getting her 100 million like this, doing whatever fucking song.
I'm just saying, you know, when KC loses to the Niners, Niner Nation, ain't gonna be no need to bring on. She's gonna be a sad puppy.
Or the NFL could go bigger and do an after concert. So like you have the halftime show, but what if there's a post-game show where then now after the game, you know.
You saw her brand value. They said she brought $331 million to the Chief organization over the course of the season.
No, I did see
of course,
that.
you know, just a
331 million.
presence is gonna, you know, she's a mega star. So just her presence is gonna do it. I know you were talking, Doug, but I gotta backtrack for a moment because you said something that I felt like was super, super important. 3 years, right? I have to go back to this because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there and they need to actually hear this from you, right? So in the 3-year span that you had your website up and running, you did not have a brick and mortar store, correct? This is all online, right?
100%.
And you just explained to the entrepreneurs what you did month after month when you were seeing no sales, your website or things you were doing to try to get you more business, like give them a little bit of insight of what you were doing, because obviously you didn't have the website just sitting there for 3 years, right? So can you, you know, people hit these rock bottoms, you know what I mean? So they need to hear some creative ideas of when they hit rock bottom, what are some of the creative things they can do to try to get them out of that and to get some sales possibly coming in? Because I don't want to skip that. That's a very important topic. You know what I mean?
You know, I just want to say that if you ask me any story that shaped me more in life, you know, I have so many different experiences, been so blessed. The 3 years with no sales, I'm telling you, I never talk about it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Right. No one ever asked me. They want to talk about, you know, all the other things. But 3 years with no sales, I tell people, this is the moral of the story. Because if I don't do that, it just doesn't, you know, going from private jets to 99-cent pizza, I dare somebody to do it because there's no one I know that would even have the lack of ego to even pull it off. You know, living in the hills of LA, I had a SL transformer remote control drop top. You know, I had my 30th birthday party.
What you had, the old 550, the old 500?
I have my 30th birthday party at the Playboy Mansion. Like I'm telling
you had your old 500, SL 500.
I had it. I was really living that life, and to say I would like to work for myself, because my mentor showed me and taught me how to be an overall successful person, and I got an insight from someone who invented the software. You know, so these are the things that when you're an entrepreneur, you're like, oh my God, I'm here for a reason. This is like, you know, God's plan, or you know, this is perfect. The challenge of that is, can you go, and before I started my company, if you talk to other entrepreneurs or successful ones, they'll say, can you go 1,000 days with no pay? That was my first question I had to ask myself. Can I go 1,000 days with no pay? And that was the day that I actually had in mind. Can I go 1,000 days? So when the thing wasn't selling, I mean, I was very disappointed, but we didn't know if it was a real category. We didn't know where to get the carpet. We didn't know how to cut it. We didn't know where to, you know, source it. Like, so what we were doing on our website is I actually had a friend of mine. It's funny you say this. The first thing we did is we partnered with a website company, because the website I made looked like Tinker Talk, not TikTok. It looked like Tinker Talk. Like, this thing was bad. Because I don't develop, you know, I was really just the idea guy, and my business partner Bill was just the operations guy. So I paid a website company to partner with us. They took a percentage of the sales for the first couple of years in exchange for the website. The second thing I did was I had a friend that worked at Mattel, and she showed me the new Barbie and Hot Wheels website, where you could make your own, design your own Barbie and Hot Wheels on the screen.
Yeah.
So I went up one night and I searched through all the code on the internet to see if I could reverse find the guy that made the code. So he could allow us basically a bot that would allow you to lay out your step and repeat backdrop with your logos. And I ended up finding the guy. He was in Paris. And I said, would you be willing to build off that code that you made for them? He was a designer. He had his own coding company. He's like, well, I don't know, this and that. And it ended up, helping us. It ultimately didn't help the sales, but when you're asking me what I was doing, it was like,
Right.
We need to change the sizes. Do we need to do this? Like do we need to get a publicist? What's our biggest problem? And the biggest problem was most of the traffic to our website through the natural search was for photos of celebrities on the red carpet. When we started taking out Google AdWords, the biggest learning of the whole experience was negative keywords on Google AdWords. Because if you're searching red carpet, you don't put buy, walk on, not Taylor Swift on. And then we had to set up a whole thousands of ads.
Yeah.
Negative keywords to get the right people, because when we started the company, the cost per click for red carpet was like 62 cents. And then when I ended up leaving the company in 2012, 4 years later, to join the ad agency, the cost of click was almost $5. Now the cost of click is sometimes $12.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, just for people who may not know, cost per click, y'all, is when you click on the ad, right? So they get charged $12 every time a user clicks on that ad. They go to the website, don't buy, nothing happens. They are still charged that price. So just want to make sure everybody. So that's why it's costly like a mug.
So these are the things that we were really learning. And those are the things. And I'm happy to say redcarpets.com turned 15 years old this year. And
there you go. There, look at your horn.
You got it? You got it?
Yes, sir.
Years old. And my business partner Bill, who really ran it for 9 years when I left and everything. This guy is, but he became really an analytics doctor, margins, working on the FedEx, the free shipping. How do you do this? So he would always tell me a quote. He came up in marketing with me, but he used to work for WWE when it was called WWF.
Yeah.
We grew up in Connecticut. Stamford, Connecticut was the head. We used to work out in high school with the Undertaker and shit. And because he would work there. So he had keys to the gym. So we would go to the WWF and be working out, and all the wrestlers would be in there and stuff.
The building is still there. The building's still there.
Oh, the building's still there. Okay. And,
it's right off of I-95.
Yep. Right off I-95.
Absolutely. Yep. Still there.
Yep. Are you from Connecticut?
No, I'm from New York, but we travel a lot. Yeah, so when we on our way to Nordic,
get some crabs,
we'll get
some lobster tails.
Lobster tails, you know what I'm saying? We got to go through Connecticut.
Gotta grow.
The building is right there.
So when we were going there, and he would always tell me about Vince McMahon would always say, people may be good at a lot of different things, but no one's going to be better at wrestling than me.
Right.
He was always like, Doug, if we're going to be the red carpet guys, you have to be a historian. We have to know everything. When the first red carpet was rolled out in 458 BC. So the red carpet was 500 years older than the calendar we use. So the tradition of rolling it out had, so I had to get so into it and then understand, stop selling the product to everybody, but talk about the storytelling. Then it was like, do we get a publicist, even though we don't make any money, because we need credibility in the market. So even though it wasn't working, we were still investing very small
increments,
investment in increments to find how to, it's like a song when you watch these videos of Pharrell, and he'd be like, or Timberland would be like, you got to go, but for them, that's the whole song, that's why it works or doesn't work. And that's timeless versus, a song you never remember. And that was really what we learned during those 3 years. And also a goal, sacrifice, the fact that I worked at a luxury company, you know, most recently, and just how far that was from when I was eating 99-cent pizza, you know, it's like life, you know, it's the parents donating me the money that like rebuilt our trust. Not that there was no trust, but it's like, as a parent, I don't have children, but you would feel proud that your son did a thing, paid you back. You know, it was all the growing mechanisms were because of that 3 years. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that no one ever really wants to talk about it because they just want to talk about.
And shout out to your parents too for being able to invest, right? Because I think that's something that's something that we have to talk about in our community. Not everybody would have been able to go there. Like, I'm gonna keep it so real with you, bro. We're going into year 2 of doing the same thing with our business. So we have a digital agency, Outside the Box Digital. We're in year 2. I got tired of corporate. I said, F that. We're gonna create the table and we're gonna bet all on ourselves. So that's when we said bet on yourself. That's our tagline, literally, right? So like, we understand that completely. And so shout out to your parents for being able to, and I can't stress enough for our Black community to have some sort of investment, have some stuff away for a rainy day so you can make those risks. You can't take the risk when you can't make a sound decision when your back is against the wall, y'all. Mm-hmm. And that's the realest thing ever.
But let me add to that. You know, let me add to that. I do believe that it's all situationally based, right? Depending on who your parent is and what their upbringing is, they might not have had the education to be able
absolutely
to get the job to save even a little bit, because we all know
absolutely
a lot of parents come over and you know, they get these jobs, and once you get a job and you kind of get good at your job, they kind of got comfortable. You know what I'm saying? The big malls and the grand, they got comfortable and they did their job well, and they just were more concerned about keeping food on the table than investing. So like Jarrett said, I agree. You know, shout out to your parents for having something to be able to even offer you. And number 2, giving it to you.
That's real.
Oh, no, that's true. It is like it's a 3-part play. First, you got to earn it.
That's a fact.
You know, that is the first part. And like you were saying, it's not always their fault,
right?
Because systems and, you know,
right.
So the first thing is you had to be able in a position to earn it. Then you had to save it. Then you had to green light it. So it is really
it's a process, man.
And the reason I said that is, and Jarrett, you know this too, man. There's a lot of companies out there, and it's been all through the news, and I'm pretty sure you've heard stories about this, Doug. It happens a lot where people will work their entire lives, man. Look at all these Ponzi schemes, man. You know how many teachers and city workers now, mind you, we're talking state jobs, city jobs, where you think stability, keyword stability, and you work 20, 25 years, you have your little nest egg, only to see that it was stolen or ripped away from you after 20, 25 years of work. What the fuck do you do then? You know what I mean? So a lot of people have gone through these situations where they did save, right? And they weren't managing their money. Whatever bank or whatever controlling partner was managing their money, mismanaged their money or just stole it.
You know, and Russell Simmons lost a lot of his money in the 08 credit crash. You know, a lot of these guys, Nick Cage, you know, you could watch an interview with
I didn't know Russell. I was gonna say he have a rush card. He had a motherfucking rush card. Russ, we fuck with you, Uncle Russ.
No, you know what you get for that.
What the f is wrong with this guy, man? You kidding me or what?
In the credit card, and you selling rush cards. Come on, V.
You know what the rush card was. Cut it out. The rush card was the hide your income from your baby mama card. Put your check on this card, and that way it don't go to the bank. You don't have to pay child support.
Damn rush card. That was a nasty error.
It's so crazy. That made it. Yo, you guys.
Money from the child support court.
Doug, it was a nasty error, bro. Let's be real.
I didn't even know that. I mean, I know the rush card, but I didn't know that it was like a high Joe money vibe. Yeah.
Trap card.
But it's not only that. It also was created because a lot of the population at that time, especially like in construction and things of that nature, were undocumented workers where they could not go get a bank account. So how do you now go and cash your check, and you understand, and put it in? Some companies do direct deposit. Where are they depositing the money for if you can't get a bank account? You understand? So cards like the Rush card would allow you to do direct deposit into the card or cash your money, and at the check cashing place itself could put the money right on the card.
Which was genius. It was like the Cash App before Cash App.
No, it was. It was fire because then it's also a Visa, so you can have access to like a credit card, ATM card, and you could go spend it wherever you wanted to go. It was a fucking phenomenal.
I didn't even know all that was going on.
Phenomenal.
And you know what I asked you too, Doug? Like, man, what was that moment? Like, you're in Google headquarters. Have you talked to Sergey or Larry since? And have you told them this story? Because I wouldn't.
No, I don't think my revenue's long enough, but I have talked to.
That was real. That was real. That was.
You know, guys, the funny thing about this story is that I actually went back and said, if I would have taken my 401k and life savings and put it in a Google stock and sat at home and stared at the window, I would have 10 million bucks.
Right.
So this is the other thing that we don't get taught is that what you do for a living and what earns you money could be two different things.
Oh my goodness.
We're taught what you do earns you money. But the thing is, if you put the money in the stock, that's 10 million bucks. I don't have $10 million in the bank today, but I could have been sitting there staring at the window and gotten $10 million and have more money than my whole family ever earned by doing one thing right. So this is the other part.
Finance, fifth period, y'all, economics.
Well, we talked about that. We talked about the impact of education versus ignorance. You understand? You can't blame somebody for not knowing information. People make decisions based on the information that they have in front of them at the moment. That's it.
But devil's advocate, right? With all the information out there, it's up to you to decipher that information and go find it. Is it not? Are we going to blame that old shit? Like back in the day with textbooks, you had to go to a library. Maybe, hell yeah. But nowadays, no.
No, I'm still going to say yes and no, because when you take something as advanced as the stock market, just have you ever even looked at a fucking graph of the stock market? Look at those little just looking at the graph can fucking scare you. Like what the fuck? You know, see all them numbers and you understand. And a lot of people are not that savvy to learn something that technical. You understand? That's very technical to understand stocks and trading, and that. You know, these guys online that make it seem like it's fucking easy and all that. Congratulations to you that you picked it up so quickly, but that is not something very easily absorbed. You understand? And it can be terrifying to people to give up something that they've worked so hard for to something that they know very little about.
And matter of fact, quick segue. Yeah, if y'all do want to know more about stocks, we're going to have the courses and the links up. Tay Sweat courses, our brother who's doing this thing, went from 0 to 8 figures. We're gonna have a code MTAT, MTAT. We're gonna have the link in the comments for y'all. Y'all get a discount on the course, get that money up.
I got it.
What's good?
Doug, you said it, and I just remembered it. You know what a lot of our parents and grandparents used to do because they didn't know the stock market? They bought those fucking bonds because the bonds made sense and they were simple, right? Buy the treasury bond or buy the bearer bond for $20 in 10 years. It advances to $100 or whatever it was, and they understood it. It's simple accumulation. It would double over time, and then you can cash them in. That's why so many people, like Doug said, and parents had bonds. Because it made sense. It was so simple. Buy it for 50, hold it for 5 years, it turns into 100. That's your money.
That's right. And that's how I got a lot of the money. And really, we put them in the Bible. Every birthday, everybody, my parents say, get Dougie bonds, blah, blah, blah. You know, and you could do it that way, you know, and start early, and it does accumulate.
Yeah.
And really, to kind of just complete this story, when I started looking into my family story, part of the reason I was so pushed to write the book was because of my parents, and I wanted to write a book to thank them in my way for what they did. And the first chapter of my book is called Generational Collateral. And the first thing that I really understood about my family story was, if it wasn't for 5 generations ago,
right,
I would not have had parents that had the money. And that's what made me say this whole thing is connected, you know, because we don't look at it. If you hurt your arm, you say fix your arm, but you don't hurt your arm and say, well, now my leg's working harder, and everything connects and watch LeBron James. If he ever gets hurt, he goes, now that my arm's hurt, my whole body's hurt, because now this moves more, this, you know, and that's how we have to look at it. But just to kind of tell you quickly, the timeline of the book Invisible Generals, which came out in on Veterans Day weekend. And in the whole book process, I could go through we could do a whole nother podcast, how to get a book deal, how it happened. I just have to give the biggest shout out to Charlemagne the God, because this guy,
Okay.
to me, he bought the story, put me on his imprint on Simon and Schuster, brought me to the Breakfast Club, had me on the Daily Show when he hosted. This man was like, your story is incredible, and we, as in him and his ecosystem, need to uncover these incredible stories that have never been told. But the work started with simple understanding of where my family came from. Okay, like I was telling you, the center of my family was the commander of the Tuskegee Airmen. Okay, what does that even mean?
Right.
What did he do? Okay, some guy in a movie. But what I ended up finding out is, okay, so there's 5 characters, but I'm going to go back in time. Ben Davis Jr., commander of the Tuskegee Airmen, first black general in the Air Force. His dad, first black general in the Army. His dad, Lewis Davis, was Ulysses S. Grant's son's babysitter in the White House.
Right.
Wow.
He was born a servant, and he was at the end of a battle in the Civil War. Ulysses S. Grant, what they would do is the Union would go to the plantations and pick up the items that could help the Union Army.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was finished with this war, this particular battle, his son was like, Dad, there's an incredible horse here that I think you would love, because Ulysses S. Grant was a big equestrian and loved horses.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the plantation with his best friend, who was a guy by the name of General Logan, who Logan Airport in Boston is named after, Logan Circle and Square in Chicago and D.C. And Logan sees a young boy on the plantation, and when Ulysses S. Grant gets a horse, Logan says, I would like to take this boy off the plantation because the plantation was ravaged.
Yeah.
And he ends up taking this young boy, and he raises him as like a servant child, but almost as a son. It's like a very weird, like American, that time was just,
it was
I don't really know. It was different. Anyway, they love the guy, and he becomes a great young man. And then he becomes Ulysses S. Grant's son's babysitter. And during Grant's second inauguration is Lewis Davis, Ulysses S. Grant, and Davis's son on his knee in the buggy going down to the White House.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is, if this guy doesn't have free access in and out of the White House, knows the presidents, knows the senators, he then has a son, and he gets a job in the Department of the Interior. Lewis Davis, after he's a babysitter, he gets a job in the Department of the Interior. Mm-hmm. He wants to have a home. General Logan co-signs the home so he could have it and it will be protected.
Wow.
That home is where he raises his son, Ben Davis Sr. He wants to fight in the military. He can't get into West Point, even though he gets the signatures from all the elected officials in D.C. William McKinley gets the notice and says, we don't want to get in the habits of allowing blacks into West Point. Because the military was segregated, blacks couldn't be in charge of whites, and whites by policy didn't have to salute blacks, even though they're both fighting in the same army.
Wow.
So Ben Sr. runs away, joins the Buffalo Soldiers, becomes a great equestrian, and 2 years later, William McKinley calls him and says, I'm going to promote you to officer 2 years faster than if you would have gone to West Point. And he becomes the only black officer in the whole military. And right after that, McKinley dies in office.
Wow.
So now you have one black officer.
Wow.
His wife dies in childbirth.
Wow.
He's now a single dad with 3 kids. He has one son. His son is acting out, and he goes, "Son, what do you want to do?" And he goes, "I would like to live big and have a big dream." So he puts his son in an airplane, $5 pay, which was 1 week's pay, and his son flies around for 15 minutes. And I stopped the story right here and go, my biggest learning of this whole journey was, what would a father do for a son to live their dream?
Message.
Would you spend 1 year's pay for your son? 1 week's pay for your son to do something for 15 minutes? Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And,
That's incredible.
Before we get too far into it, ladies and gentlemen, we want to give you guys an opportunity. I know you heard him mention the book, but we're going to go ahead and put the book up. This
Absolutely.
is what it looks like. All right. This is Invisible Generals by Doug Melville. Take a screenshot of it or a picture, whatever you need to do, and make sure that you go and support this brother. It's available on audiobooks and Amazon and everywhere. You see Jarrett got it in his hand right there. You know what I'm saying? This is a must read. And if you want, let us know. We might could get Doug to sign the book for you. No problem.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We might be able to work out a more than a title discount.
Ooh, we gotta do that.
Let's do it, y'all. I need the autograph though, Doug. When I do see you, brother, this book is real, man. This shit is real, bro.
Today, but yeah.
I love it, man.
So the thing about it is, and I want to tell this story because it goes back to my dad helping me with the money.
Yeah.
Because this story, so you have this dad, single dad, 3 kids, early 1900s, 1 week pay to have his son fly in an airplane. Aviation was less than 20 years old. So these are biplanes, open cockpit.
Right.
Wow.
And his son comes down and goes, "Daddy, I want to be a pilot." Everyone I know would have been like, "Son, let's get ice cream. Let's go get a new pair of shoes." And he looked at his son and goes, "You want to be a pilot? I'm going to get you to the military. If you graduate in the top third of your class at West Point, they can never turn you down." Trains his son for 6 years, like Venus and Serena. Get up at 4 a.m, sit up, eat up straight, like he is a soldier.
Right.
And then realizes by the time it's time to get into West Point, there's only one black congressperson in the whole United States, and you have to live in their district 1 year to get the signature to get in.
Wow.
He sells the family house that was protected by General Logan.
Oh, wow.
And relocates the whole family, single dad, to Illinois so his son can live in the district for 1 year to get the signature of the only black congressman so he could get into West Point and he could be a pilot.
Damn!
Yo, this is incredible. That's crazy.
And then his son fails the test.
Wait, get another damn. Where's it at? I can't get it.
Damn!
You said it. I thought you had fingers on the trigger. My bad.
He fails the test. And his dad goes, "No problem. We take it again next year." And I say to everybody,
hold on, Doug.
that's the story right here. No one's dad is doing
this.
this.
No one is doing that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, the 1 week pay, I can understand that, right? The 1 week pay. The selling of the fucking protected house
Property
is crazy. To fucking transport your entire family to an unknown place now, and your son fails the test. I can't hold you. This is for the culture. Me as a black father, if my son failed that test, I'd be like,
If I raise up, gonna be trouble.
I'd have been like, "Yo, basketball going to be created in 10 years if you hold on." If you hold on, basketball going to be our shit.
Listen, man, I'm telling you right now, man, it would have been chairs and everything thrown in that motherfucker. Like, what the fuck is going on? What's wrong with you?
And this is what
was
I
just a
tell
written
people.
test? It was a written test, or was it like, oh, you go up there?
It was the test to get into the United States Military Academy, which is West Point. So it's the
so it's
same,
physical,
it's
everything.
2 names of the same
Yeah.
kind of institution.
So just educate me, because is that not the ASVAB?
You know, I actually don't know the name of it, and we're talking about 1931. So I don't know.
That's what I'm asking, because So the curriculum now, unless I'm mistaken or something, the college curriculum is different. The standard militarized test, the standard test for military entry is the ASVAB. You understand what I'm saying? And then you have to score within a certain percentile for each branch of the armed services and for each job that you want. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want like a high intelligence job, or I guess a flight job, whatever, you have to score in a certain percentile of that test for each different branch is different. Now for officers that go to these select schools, I do know the process is to get the letter from the congressman and things of that nature. But then it's just based on also college, your college SAT or ACT, whatever you took, and then whatever extracurricular. And this is where a lot of people miss it. That they look at your extracurricular activities that you did in high school. Also, were you captain of maybe a debate team or some type of politics team or anything like that? Did you give up yourself when you have free time? They look at stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure it changed, but I know that's the standard now. And that's been a standard for a while.
Well, back then it was just the Army because it was we're before World War II, and a lot of those things actually happened because of World War II because it was so coordinated between countries and the Allied forces and everything. But at that time, you had to get the signature of an officer and a congressperson, and there was only one black officer in the whole United States who was
one congressman,
and one black congressman. So if he didn't sell this house and move over, he wouldn't have been able to get the two signatures. So he fails the test, and his dad's supportive. He goes to college for a year, takes the test again in 1932, gets in, arrives at West Point, and they don't realize he's black, and they pull him into the commandant's office, and under the sign that says duty, honor, and country, they assign him a room at the end of the hall, which is described as a converted janitor's closet. No roommate, nothing. He goes to bed that night, and I tell people, just be him for a minute. 18 years old, goes to bed at night, scared, in this place. He wakes up the next day, the only cadet with no roommate, and he hears the pitter-patter of the feet of everybody getting called to a meeting in the sinks. It was an all-hands meeting in an area called the sinks on campus. And he puts his uniform on and runs down and thinks nobody put the flyer under the door or knocked because he's in a converted room and they didn't know it was a room. So he runs down and he gets there and the doors are locked and he listens in, and it's a meeting of every single faculty and every single cadet. And they go, we accidentally let an N-word in.
Wow.
You are to treat him as if he's invisible until he drops out.
Wow.
Message.
Wow. I don't even know, like, do we give that a message? Like, what the fuck? Like,
no, I was just like, he's still with the messages. He still went through that shit. That's the message.
No, I'm just saying. But
the message is that is actually the message. But this moment is so
right. Yeah, it's the moment. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy that you. Yeah. How can you put it into words? We couldn't fathom it.
So he runs back to his dorm and calls his dad, and he's like, Dad, tells him what happened. And his dad goes, there's a few things, son. I trained you for this moment. Right. Everything we did was for this.
Yeah.
There's 13 million blacks rooting for you on the outside world. That's number 2. And Ben Jr. joked, it's unfortunate none of them are here. And third thing was, write the graduation date on the wall. And no matter what anybody does, you are to graduate in the top third of the class at West Point and do it for our people. And Ben Davis Jr. went to West Point 50 weeks a year for 4 years in a row with no human interaction outside of the line of duty. No.
Damn!
That's crazy.
I can't with the memes.
50 years.
The memes, though.
It keeps the people going. Provocative. That is insane.
But I tell you, because this is one 19-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Shout out to him, man.
He has to, they segregate the campus. He can't go into the library. He can't have a study partner. But he would say the most humbling part of the whole thing was that at West Point, you have to ask for permission to sit to eat. Do I have permission to sit? Yes. And they let you at the table. Because no one wanted him there, he would ask for the entire time you had to eat and go to every table and never be allowed to sit and then eat in 2 seconds standing up before he dropped his food 3 times a day for 4 years. He took a segregated game bus to the Army-Navy game. He failed boxing and CPR because no one else would show up when he was in the room, and those were partner activities. And he did all of this. And when it was 1 month to graduation, they pull him in the commandant's office, and he goes, I'm in the top third of the class. I would like to be a pilot. And they said, we will not allow blacks to fly. And he goes, but I passed all the tests. And they go, listen, we will pay for you to drop out today.
Wow.
And we will pay for you to go to law school, and we will send you back to Illinois and set up a law school practice and pay for your law school in exchange for an honorable discharge, and you drop out because you're never going to live your dream because blacks will never be able to fly.
Shit.
And Ben Davis leaves the room and go, I will not drop out. And FYI, if you would not have mandatorily failed me in partner classes, I would have graduated.
Number one.
Talk about strength. See, but that's the shit that's one. After hearing that, brother, one, I can understand why you were so pissed off. And for a brother, know the black man went through all of those things, and for them to create a fictional character, like, why would you want to create a fictional character when this brother was doing and went through hell to get to where he are?
It's the best story. I just, you don't even have to.
Hold on, Jarrett. You know the answer to that.
But why make a fictional Cuban good and fucking Junior?
Hold on, Jarrett. You know,
of course, but it's stupid. It's ridiculous.
It's the same reason that they're trying to outlaw Black American studies and trying to take out our heritage in Florida right now. You already know the answer to that. You know the answer to that. You know the answer. They're doing it because they want to water down the Black and brown history. That's the answer, bro. That's the answer. They want to water down our history so that it's so diluted that we start to forget about it and we start to adopt their culture and their history as ours. That's nothing different than what any oppressor does when they conquer or take over a land. They strip you of your religion, they strip you of your own native language, and they make you learn their stuff. Convert or die. That's the answer, bro.
So Doug, Matthew Knowles came on, Dr. Knowles came on, shout out to him. He came on the show and said something. He said, if you're not careful, history will become history.
That's a fact.
And when soon as I heard about the story, did the research on the book, started reading, bro, it reminded me of that sentence. So with that being said, and knowing what happened with the family, right? How do we preserve our history? And and also part two, how did you find out some of those intricate details of the story? Like, I would love to know more about the research process.
Well, what I want to do, let me finish the beginning part of the story, and I'll jump to present day. Okay. So he graduates, and in the graduation photo, he's standing with his dad. And in that photo, they are the invisible generals. They're not generals yet, but they're the only 2 Black officers in the entire military out of 335,000 men. There are 2 Black officers.
Crazy.
So what does the government do?
Crazy.
What does the government do? It is illegal at that time by policy for blacks to be in charge of whites. So the first thing they do is they put 1 white soldier in every Black group of soldiers. Therefore, Ben Jr. and Sr. cannot command them.
Wow.
The next thing that they do is that they assign them ROTC duty, which is go to Black colleges because they and go around and teach military science and recruit and do whatever you got to do.
Right.
But the only blacks you could be in charge of are those that are going to black colleges. So Ben and his dad get in a Jeep for 4 years, 1936 to 1940. And they go to all the black colleges and tell them, keep your head high. You are a man. You are strong. We are examples of a father and a son. We did it. You could do it. And they built up this like aura with these black men. 1940 comes around. Almost all blacks were voting Republican because Abraham Lincoln created the Republican Party and emancipated those that were enslaved, and FDR wanted to win re-election.
Yeah.
So he hires the highest rank black and appoints him to a new position called head of Negro policy. And he hires or appoints Ben Davis Sr. And Ben Davis Sr. says, he goes, how do I get the votes? And Ben Sr. says, the only way you're going to get the black vote is that you have to do two things. The Army, if it was a company, would be the largest company in the United States at that time. So you have to have equal pay for equal work, black or white. And it was the first institution in America to do that. The second thing is you have to allow blacks to have premium opportunities in the military, not just what they called at the time were called pick and shovel jobs, build railroads and things like that. And he goes, that begins with allowing blacks to fly airplanes. And he goes, well, who would lead it? And he said, my son.
Woo!
Message.
Be able to do that.
Crazy.
The next minute, Ben Davis Jr., first of all, he doesn't really want to do it. Eleanor Roosevelt goes down there. There's a story about her getting in a plane with a black pilot to show that it was safe, and she went against her husband. You know, so there's a little bit going on in the middle there.
Gotcha.
But Ben Jr. goes down to Tuskegee, Alabama with 4 other men, and they start something called the Tuskegee Experiment, which was an experiment to see if blacks cognitively could fly airplanes. It was really not for real. It was just, we're going to test this shit out and see if it works. And they all fly and pass the test. And Ben, because he graduated West Point, becomes commander of the other 4. Wow. So then they say, well, that's nice, but if we want to build a real group of pilots, you got to have a whole 15,000 men and 1,000 pilots. And the graduation rate for colleges was under 10%. The literacy rate for blacks was under 10%. So they go, if you could get everybody to come down here, then we'll turn the experiment into a real thing. And because Ben and his dad had gone to all the black colleges, they put out the notice, and 15,000 men and women of color were in the Tuskegee Airmen. It was 1,000 pilots, 14,000 ground crew and support. And this is the biggest, craziest part of the whole story. Never commanded anybody, never sent to battle, never anything. And Ben Davis, in his 20s, trains every single person, the mechanic, the bombardier, the cook, the chef, the guy building the barracks, the pilots, on all their jobs, because the military was 100% segregated. If you had a part for your airplane that was working on a white airplane, they wouldn't let it go on your airplane. If you were a medic in a white hospital, you weren't allowed to be a medic in a black hospital. 100% segregated. And this man is in his 20s, and he pulls together 15,000 people. Then they don't know what to do with these guys. So they have them fly around year after year, training, same training. And then they run out of pilots. And they go, we got to use the black pilots. They fly them to North Africa. They then fly them to Ramitelli, Italy, and they build a base for them, 100% segregated. And they realize 2 things. The planes are so pieced together because nothing could have been on a white pilot's airplane, that they actually don't even have the equipment to functionally fly. So they have to give them the brand new planes, which are the P-51 Mustang, which was the fastest propeller plane ever made before today. Then they realized the last part of this was that Ben realizes the maps are segregated.
Wait, what?
The maps are segregated.
How the fuck you segregate a map?
So no, he's getting maps of Europe, and his airfield that he's commander of isn't on any of the maps, and they tell him that the maps are segregated. So he tells all the men.
I can't, bro. I can't.
He tells all the men right before 4th of July weekend, we are going to get bombed by our own guys if we do not signal to them that we are Americans. And he goes, paint all the tails red.
Right.
So they know that we're part of the Allied forces and that we're American, and that is where the red tails are going.
I ain't gonna front. Just hearing this whole story,
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and
I'm blinking. That shit just make you proud, yo. Oh my god.
There one time. No, I see.
Oh man.
Again, like, imagine this. Imagine you grew up in school and actually learned this.
Learned that.
Right? When the movie, if they was to make a movie after you learned the story, after you've done the research, after you've done the essays and all this shit, and you really immersed yourself growing up learning this type of thing, when the movie came out, it would have fucking been a blockbuster is not even the word. It would have broke so many fucking records because just the story itself is amazing. So visually, you can recreate what you're saying audibly would be phenomenal. Like people would go, it would go crazy. But
they've had movies similar to that.
Huh?
They've had like the Men of Honor with Cuba Gooding was a good one.
Yeah, but this story
that story's ridiculous.
But listen, but what I'm saying,
Men of Honor is a good movie. Men of Honor is
a lot of
chain
movies, but
story.
they watered them down, like you said, right? Think about what you just said. They replace an actor here, replace an actor there, change a little bit of the name, and if you don't know the full story, then you don't know that that's not the way it goes. So imagine if you never heard the story and you've only seen the movie, and you think, like Doug said, you believe that most movies are fact-based, not fiction. You're gonna believe that's the real story.
Absolutely. But is it a monetary thing or a business decision for them to create the fictional character?
Well, what I ended up learning through this process, and I think, to just say this, this is why I was so passionate about this whole thing. And what happened was when after I saw the movie Red Tails and the names were changed. See, I thought this was way better than I mean, you don't even have to make up the story. To me is like, yeah, I get the fighter pilot thing, but this, how it came.
Yeah.
If your granddaddy wasn't a servant and a babysitter for Ulysses S. Grant, there would not be Tuskegee Airmen. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. If William McKinley died in office 6 weeks earlier, he wouldn't have promoted Ben Sr. to, like, this is why I'm saying about the generational collateral, going back to the money that my parents gave me, that Ben left my dad, that my dad loaned to me. To sell the car, so that's where they got the money.
I don't even know what to say to that, man.
I don't have any questions, sir. I can't follow up with a question.
No, it's not a question. I just, this is one of those
real
reaction videos, reaction moments where you're like, the amount of dedication and perseverance that each one of them had to go through to understand. Obviously, they can't see into the future, but they knew in that moment that what they are doing is special, and they had to see it through. Just that.
Period.
If our culture, if more people in our culture even had a quarter of that kind of dedication and persistence and consistency, we would, man, listen. You know what it is. Man, listen.
But it goes back to what I said earlier, right? There's no excuse today. Look at the shit they had to endure then. There is no excuse today. I don't give a fuck what excuse you can have.
I can tell you the excuse.
There is none. We have to stop making excuses for people.
It's not an excuse. What it is it's a psychological disorder. When when our backs were against the wall and we had to fight, scrape, scream, and scratch for everything, then we developed the what? The hustle, the want. You know what they say, right? You want everything that you can't have, right? But guess what you just said? Now that everything is given to us, everything is out there and it's so accessible, that want dies out. That drive dies out.
I get what you're saying, but it's not given to us to do special shit, that things like that. Something like that changed the world, to change the industry, changed the war, right? You go back to the DEI stuff that you were saying about the growth factor, right? Would we have won World War II or some of these wars after it if it wasn't black soldiers there and all those things? It's same thing, business, right? It's all that. So the fact that we had to do that and people are not willing to go on Google, research some things, figure out some industries, teach themselves. You can figure out how to fucking build a bomb on YouTube. You shitting me? Like, there's no excuse for our people, bro. But we'll be on Shade Room. We'll be on World Star. We'll be on Media Takeout.
Have you ever heard this saying? And I might be a little rusty on it, but they say like the grandfather works so that the son, the grandson can go to school, right? So the grandfather, then his son can go to school. He goes to school and get a job so that his son can become like the entrepreneur, right? So it's like a 3-generation build up to that fourth person breaks the mold. Now, once that fourth person has broken the mold, and now his children, now technically generational wealth building is started, don't have to walk 20 miles to school, are pampered all the way. Now it breaks back down. It goes, he's the millionaire. His son will have a couple money, but by the time it gets to his grandson, the money's gone. You understand what I'm saying? Because they've squandered it away, because what it took to build it up, those next 3 generations lost that. That's a big study that they talk about right now. That is a big psychological study that they talk about. Why do you think so many millionaires and billionaires, and I'll be doing a lot of research on this, do not leave all their money to their children? They'll leave them a little bit and they give the rest of the money away, or they do some other shit. You know, they say he got to work for it. I'll give him $1 million, or I'll give him $2 million, and he got to fucking work for the rest of it, because I'm not going to. Why do you think they do that? It would be so easy to make them trust fund kids, but they don't, because they understand that if a person doesn't work for something, not to say they won't respect it, but most people will not respect it and treasure it the way somebody that is fucking fought, scratched, and clawed for it.
That's not everybody, too. The top billionaires, bro. We talking about what? The Waltons? 40 billion. Julia Walton.
Look at me. She's nowhere near the top billionaire. That's the one that you
women.
Look at me. Like I said, she's nowhere near the top bill. That's what you see on Forbes. The people with the real money never make Forbes. The people with the real money never make Forbes.
No, but you're saying that they don't give it. They're not fucking giving them $1 million and shit like that. They're not doing that. The man's not doing that. The man's not giving them just $1 million and shit.
So you said they're not doing it, right? So you got the guy,
majority is not doing that.
You got the guy, what's his fucking name? From the famous fashion brand guy, not Giuseppe. I forget his name. No, not a Mary. I'm talking real money. The fucking guy is about to adopt his fucking gardener and give his gardener all the money.
That was the Hermes founder.
Hermes, the guy Hermes about to adopt his fucking gardener and give, not his family. I'm pretty sure he has a lot of family. He's about to adopt his fucking gardener, make him legal kin so that he can give him all the money. Explain that.
Give them,
bro. Well, that is, if you guys think, if you ever read the story of, it's Mansa Musa. What was the guy's name exactly?
Mansa Musa.
Mansa Musa. But if you actually read the full story of him, they talk about how he built up all this wealth, and it's a fascinating story. But it showed up on a map. Someone drew him and his camels and the wealth on a map in Europe, and no one believed it was true. They thought it was like a fictional thing that someone had all this wealth. So the Europeans built up all these boats and stacked them with weapons and everything to go down there to get the wealth. But it took like 80 years. The guy's son had died. Mansa Musa's kids had died. And the only people alive were the grandkids and their kids. And they have become so lazy with it that when all the ships from Europe came with the guns, they let them all take it. They didn't even fight them. And then the Europeans called back for more ships. And then they said, these people are so dumb. They just let us walk all over them and take all their shit. So let's learn from them and let's take them And that was actually the seed that laid the colonial slave trade that changed the entire planet Earth.
Absolutely.
The grandkids
and who is Mansa Musa? And who is Mansa Musa right now, whether they admit it or not? If you read the actual history books, the real history books, what is he listed as? He's listed as the wealthiest person to ever walk this earth. Ever.
It would be trillions today. Trillions.
Absolutely. So the Waltons, the Marks.
I get that. That's colonial. I'm talking today. The white man is creating generational wealth and giving them businesses to their kin. Is it not why we are behind? That's what I was talking to. I get that. So what you're referring to is correct, but it's anecdotal today because they're still giving wealth. The Walmarts and all that. Name a black one. That's the point.
I'm not saying there's a big difference between giving somebody an opportunity and setting them up to be successful and just handing them a bunch of money.
Absolutely.
I guess let's just say Donald Trump. Use Donald Trump as an example. He's like billionaire, right? But his kids were raised business school, this, that. Go out on your own, be successful business. You understand? He gave them money, obviously, but set them up so that they learned how to make their own money, right? And then brought them back into the fold and say, okay, now let's make money together, right? Because the real wealth, the real power is not giving money away to somebody. Like,
teach them how to fish.
Jarrett?
Teach them how to
fish. They'll learn you sell fishing poles. So once he taught them how to fish, guess what? I don't need to come running to daddy for a bunch of millions or billions because I make my own money now. Now I'm my own powerhouse. The other kids are powerhouse because now we can all come together as a collective unit and explode this thing.
All I'm saying is normally the family business that they get, right? You're going to put look at the genie buses and stuff like that. You groom your child to take the generational wealth a step further. That's it.
I think there's a lot of families, so I think both of you are actually right. It just depends. But some don't want to give it to their kids because they feel like their kids will waste it. Some are putting it in a irrevocable trust. Some aren't giving it to them without incentives, without degrees. And then some are just saying,
life, Doug. Here's the thing about life.
Take it all.
Life is like art and music, right? It transitions race and it transitions economics, right? What I'm saying, like, the thing like art and music, it transitions race, it transitions color, right? It transitions because it's just something that everybody listens to. What I'm talking about is overall understanding of where life is. iPhones are not out just for black people, right? The internet is not out for black people. It's out for almost everybody unless you're in a country that outlaws it. Yes or no? Mm-hmm. That means that the same exact problems that we might be seeing in our community, other communities are experiencing the same exact issue because everybody's intaking the information. Everybody's on social media. Everybody's in the same program. We're not talking about the 1%. Like you said, if you want to talk majority, let's talk majority, right? So if our problems are here, we have to assume that everybody's having the same type of problem. So if everybody's having the same type of problem, which means that people are getting more lazy because guess what? Technology is advancing. And a lot of the things that we had to do manually that made us big and strong and all that, we don't have to do no more because technology is taking over all of these things. As a people in general, the human race, we're getting soft.
Well, I just want to say there was a, something I was reading and watching the other day. And if there's one takeaway from it, it's this. We are now today, not anecdotally today, the number one thing people are saying is, how do we invest in AI? How do we make the robots smarter? How do we program them? How do we make algorithms? How do we give them empathy? How do we give them hope? We are spending, if you look at the report, I want to say it was like 25 billion invested in these AI. But then when it's invested in the people.
To us, exactly. I read that report.
There's no money in the school system, single parent system, SNAP, rewards. So what we're doing is we're taking the tricky thing is if you're a government, technically you're not supposed to be for profit. You're supposed to be for the people. But what's actually happening is that we've turned government into almost a form of capitalistic dominance in a way where we're almost either by intention or de facto operating on the 80-20 rule where we're investing all the resources into the top 20% of the country. And then the rest of the 80% of the country, we're just like, hey man, if you find it, you did well, Life's not fair. Shit happens. Wrong place, wrong time. Better luck next time. Teachable moment. Like there's like a whole cornucopia of default answers, like your memes. But for the 20% of people, you're like, hey man, listen, don't worry about taxes. You could defer them. Oh, you want to expense that? Write off the credit. And then you have the other half. So it's like we're living in this odd duality where we're both, everyone's right and wrong now at the same time. You know, there was a study years ago when I worked for Magic Johnson, and it was about sports was it wasn't like in 08, 09, sports was big, but it wasn't like now.
Yeah.
The reason sports was positioned to grow is it was becoming the only thing you could watch where there was an actual winner and a loser. Because we've muddied everything so much that everyone's a winner and everyone's a loser and everyone's winning. But sports, winning, losing, and then when you legalize gambling, the rates went up to $8 billion a team because people want to watch winning and losing.
Yep.
But we make it so it's like you kind of won, but you didn't lose. But, you know, there's silver lining, and people are tired of it. And we've saturated most of the public, the 80%, with the it doesn't matter, life is short, it'll be all good. And then the 20% is like, you're a loser, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. And like you're saying, Jarrett, because I stick on your side, I mean, if I'm not picking a side, but Jarrett, I'm more on your side, that if you're going to take out your phone to post a video and a photo, you should be taking out to learn about how to trade a stock. It's the same device. It's the same button. It's the same Google. It's the same tutorial. Guys, what is the problem?
Message.
You should all in the pocket. It's the same device on the same time and the same. You don't got to call no broker. You don't got to do anything. But then what the other side of the argument is, but everyone's been so saturated with mashed potatoes and vanilla-ized information that they don't have the motivation to even reach in the pocket to figure out how to make the stock. And that's why I feel like we're stuck in a loop.
And so, matter of fact, as you say that, while you got your phone,
We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back.
put your QR code out while you got your phones in your hand. If you're going to pull it out, make sure you get your More Than the Title app, get your mugs, get your hats, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and we back. And disagreements are good for content.
No, it is. Let me just throw this at you, Doug. Let me just throw this at you.
Mm-hmm.
If everything was for everybody, if going by your rule, right? If everybody that has the same resources are capable of doing the same exact thing, then it's fair to say that everything could be for everybody, right? Because we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and technically people are created equal, right? This is right.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the case, then the hierarchy of any type of job would evaporate overnight. Okay. There would be no separation between a doctor, a nurse, and this and this and that. There is no separation, because if we all could be doctors, then there is no $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 for the specialist, because everybody's a specialist. It would be no $300,000 lawyer jobs, because everybody could be a lawyer. It would be no $400,000 commissions on advertising jobs. Everybody's an advertiser. If everybody could do everything, then the world would kind of evaporate out, because then you would have no class system. You would have no separation of winners and losers, because everybody would be a winner. But that's not possible.
But I want to just double down on this, because the tricky thing about what you're saying is we've given everyone all the information.
That's why I'm getting.
So back in the day, you know, when my dad's a judge, and he had in his chambers his tuition statement.
Mm-hmm.
It was $600. He went to Howard Law School. He goes, going to school was $600 a year. And I go, $600? He goes, Doug, we couldn't get into the library to read the books unless we paid the money, because the library has the books. Mm-hmm. He goes, now college is 50, 60, 70,000, and all the books are on the internet. I don't understand what you pay. You know, that's the weird thing. But if everybody was doing everything, they wouldn't make it so accessible. But it's like we can let everybody eat cake because no one's even gonna
try to take a bite.
Yeah, it's like a weird, there's one more thing about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know if you know that story. When he moved to America, there was only 50 gyms in the whole United States of America.
Okay.
So when he moved to Venice Beach to do Muscle Beach and work out at that gym, it was 50 gyms in America. The year that we had 50,000 gyms of America was the year that America became the most obese country in the world. Now, this is what I'm saying. Like, some of these things are like...
Message.
But look at what you just iterated, because I know we're coming up on time. But again, exclusivity, the ability not to be able to do something, you want to do it so bad that you make it a point to go do it. Accessibility ends up making you lose the drive to go ahead and do it because you feel like it's right there. I don't have to work hard enough for it. I think it's a conversation that we can go back and forth. Let me tell you, Doug, I truly enjoy. I know we're coming up on time. I truly enjoyed this conversation. I want to tell you, I've learned so much, and I want to let you know you didn't get a chance to see it, but we also are live on Instagram. We had so many comments on Instagram. So many people that were commenting on what you were saying like, yo, they learned so much from you today. Thank you for coming on the show. You know what I mean? You were dropping gems. So I want to let you know across the platforms, you're getting a lot of feedback already in real time.
And shout out to LinkedIn too. For some reason, their comments wasn't going on the live stream. So sorry about that. I don't know. It might have been a StreamYard thing, y'all. Usually our comments be coming on. But Instagram, if you want your comments on the show, you have to go to YouTube, LinkedIn, or some other platforms. Instagram isn't integrated with that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't.
You know why? Because we use StreamYard, and Instagram actually just unlocked the feature to go live. So we've only been going live on Instagram for, let's just call it, a month. So they're still working out the bugs. And technically, Instagram doesn't allow you to go live for more than an hour. So a lot of the times, like this was a 2-hour show, it might cut off after an hour. So we don't know. But let the people know where they can find you, Doug. Because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot.
You can log on at Doug Melville, the website, the Instagram, the LinkedIn. Pick up the book, Black History Month. We've already sold 3,500 copies, different companies around the country. I'm starting tomorrow doing talks. It's why I'm in LA. It's Grammy week too. But, I appreciate everything, guys. And this was, I don't even do conversations like this because I'm like in and out guy, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. I'm riding and dying on these.
Pause, not pause. It's just a tone.
No, come on.
It wasn't pause, but it was the tone. It was the tone.
I understand where you're coming from. You had to get that one.
We didn't give you one all show. We had.
No, I try to stay. Hey yo. You guys are on top of shit. I gotta stay conscious of it, but I did like talking to you guys. I don't really do these long format ones, but it's good to meet you and vibe with you, and we just rolled right into it, and I appreciated it, and we'll see you soon. I may have some news coming up, so I'll come back with you guys, and we'll share it here on More Than a Title.
Do me a favor, Doug. Put your number in the private chat. What we like to do is create a group chat between us and the guests, because we don't believe in just having guests come on the show and then leaving. We believe in fostering the relationship. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do a group chat with just me, you, and Jarrett. That way we can keep in contact. And also we want to let you know that anybody that you've seen on the show, because we like to create community, right? We like to create a pipeline. Anybody that you've seen on the show that you might feel like you're interested in meeting or something like that, please reach out to us, because we believe in connecting like-minded individuals. And we will definitely make the introduction.
Love it,
man. Because this is for us.
So
no, we appreciate you, brother. Like I said, I've been a fan
in New York.
You rock out. Yeah, you got your number in there too, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna text him right now in the group chat.
Us. And I appreciate y'all. Let me slide out of here, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, I was going.
Talk to you soon. More Than a Title, baby. We gonna let y'all know before we go, y'all.
3 miles long.
Well, hold on, I gotta get you because of the. I gotta get you one of those. Where's the?
Hey, yo.
Oh, he can't like that. I got him.
Love, bro. Yeah, but y'all appreciate everybody for the tuning in and for the check-in, man. That was a fire episode, man. Yeah. And this is why it's important to tell our stories and document our shit. Did y'all hear what this dude said? Like the story is incredible, man. So make sure y'all go pick up Red Tails tomorrow. If y'all want to be on the show, it's fan appreciation.
Not Red Tails, Invisible Generals.
Invisible Generals, the book. Red Tails was the movie.
Yeah,
so they may have known it from that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, it's the Tuskegee Airmen, the experiment, man. Make sure y'all cop the book tomorrow. Fan appreciation. You want to pull up, you want to be on the show, you want to get you one of these, you know what I mean? Want to get you one of the message. You want
Message.
You gotta pull up, man. You say something. The place you can get it. You already know, y'all. But much love to the rest of y'all.
Let me ask you a question. Are we putting out the did we put out the link for them so that they can come and get on the show, or we gonna put it out in the morning?
We're gonna put it out when it come out. We put out to everybody get it, then we fuck around and have like 100, 200 people. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
what I want us to do is I want us to put out the link as soon as possible and then put out a disclaimer to let them know that when they come on, they're gonna have a certain time limit. That way we can allow, you know what I mean? I want to put out something. We're gonna figure it out, guys. We're gonna put out something to let you know what to click on to get into the show, to be a guest, and how much time you're gonna have, because we want to open up the platform so that we can have as many guests on the show as possible. Because I think last time we had like 200 people log in, right, Jarrett? It was crazy, right?
Crazy.
We had like 5, 6, 7 on the screen at a time, but it was over 200 people that wanted to log in. So we appreciate you guys for wanting to get on the show, and we want to make it as easy and accessible to you as possible.
That's it. And with that said, y'all, you already know, man, tomorrow, fan appreciation. Let's bug out. We'll see y'all tomorrow. More than the title, baby.
About me, seen it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me?